This conference will now be recorded.
പൊട്ടിച്ചോ പൊട്ടിച്ചോ
Okay, I'm sharing my screen right now.
Okay.
So, till now, we looked at in terms of the org settings, the company information, the licenses, basically what a profile information, and we know different profiles we have, right? And each profile will have a different set of users. And what does profile does? Profile is basically nothing but it gives basically the settings and permissions for a user. For
Okay.
example, I've told you that if you have a driving license, you might have a license, but which kind of vehicle you can drive will be based on the type of license or the permission that you have.
Understood.
Correct? You'll be permitted only to drive a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, not a truck or a big, vehicle. Similar way, profile is basically a set of settings, a combination of settings and permissions in terms of what applications or objects you can access and what you can do when you have access to those profiles. What is permissible to do, what is not permissible, right?
Okay.
That's a permission we are talking about.
Okay.
Create, delete, edit permissions, or only create permission. So these are the different aspects we have in profiles. And what are the different types of standard profiles we have? Any idea?
No idea.
So under the setup, if you go, so under users, under the administration section, you have something called as profile, and you have different types of profile available. Both standard profiles and custom profiles are available. So what is a standard profile? Standard profile is something but a base level settings and permissions already which comes out of the box from Salesforce. When I say out of the box, for example, a standard user is a standard profile. So when we click standard user profile, under this profile, we have a lot of application settings and permissions. So when it says settings and permissions, for example, which are the applications or apps that these users can access? Not necessarily they can access all the apps, isn't it?
Okay.
Let us look at assigned apps for this profile. That is a standard user. A standard user profile has access to all these applications except for service standard console. They can access community, content, lightning, marketing, sales, recruiting, service, all these applications they can access. These are the assigned apps. Okay. And how about the are there any other specific app permissions? You can select app permissions, and under the app permissions you can see regarding call center or the service, these are the permissions they have. They can only manage macros, but other permissions they don't have. Got it? They cannot manage cases, they cannot manage business hours, holidays. These are not possible for a standard user. Yes, and he doesn't have ownership or a permission to even to transfer cases. Typically, cases related are permissions are given to a support profile or a service profile, isn't it? So similarly, there are some permissions is being given, but when it comes to sales related functionalities, if you notice, he has permission to convert leads. He can also edit opportunities, correct? And he can also make a couple of stay in touch requests, some of them related to sales. So some basic profile, these are the app permissions that he has got. How about object settings? Which objects can the standard user profile, standard user profile can access? He can access account object, but he doesn't have any access to applicants. This is more of a HR related stuff, so he doesn't have access at all. And campaign, even though he's not from the marketing department, but still he can read the campaigns that are active in the organization. Okay. So as any profile, so you'll have in this way a different types of settings and permissions at the app level, at object level, at record level. Okay. So right now we are looking at a standard profile, and you can see these are the object level permissions that he has for standard as well as custom objects. Okay, so when I say standard object or a custom object, are you able to differentiate what a standard object is or what a custom object is?
No.
So standard object is nothing but a default out of the box objects that are given by Salesforce by themselves. For example,
Okay.
contacts, leads, opportunities. These are all objects,
Right.
right? By default, the Salesforce has provided. I did not create, isn't it?
Makes sense.
But if you look at these are called standard objects. Not only objects, even applications for that matter. When I click the app launcher, I have different apps. Service, marketing, all these are standard apps provided by Salesforce by default out of the box. I did not create, but if I create a new app by myself inside this and configure it and add objects to that, then that will become a custom application or a custom object. Custom is something which we create, or we can also not necessarily we have to create, even we can buy from others.
Okay.
From where can we buy an object or an application? So just like you have an app store, where you can go buy mobile, phone songs and other applications, right? By going to App Store or a Google Store, we do buy applications. In a similar way, even to work inside Salesforce, you can buy applications from something called as App Exchange. App Exchange is one of the app store, technically, okay, where you can buy. Let us say there is some specific functionality you're looking. For example, let us say you want to send 1,000 emails in a day.
Okay.
Salesforce by default will not allow 1,000 emails to be sent from an org, just like that.
Okay.
So for that, what you have to do, you have to buy or use some external applications or an email partner. So, for example, Mailchimp is an email vendor, right? Email marketing tool. Similarly, you have Constant Contact. This is another email marketing tool where you can send hundreds and thousands of mails if you buy a subscription from there. So that way, if you want a specific functionality, you can buy or purchase from an external vendor. So those are nothing but the custom application, or you can create on your own inside your Salesforce org.
Okay, makes sense.
So that way, sorry, I just came outside. Coming back to the profile, so you have standard profiles, custom profiles, and you might have different types of permissions inside each profile for each object. And you can notice something called tab settings. It can be default on or can be default off, or our tab can be hidden as well. So what's the difference between on, off, and hidden?
On, off. Well,
Okay, so when you go to the home page, by default, certain tabs or objects, the tabs, this is a lead tab, but with lead tab, when I click it, it directs me to the lead object.
okay.
Isn't it? I can access all the records inside the lead object. But this is basically a simple tab, right? It's just a tab. But the moment I click it, it takes me inside or what all I have inside the object. All the records inside the object. So by default, I can see certain tabs, maybe maximum 10. But if I want more, I can click this more option, and I might still scroll and then see what I want to access. But if there are more than 5 or 6, what is there or 10 mentioned here, there are 25 objects in this org. How do I access all 25? All 25 we cannot place it on this tab organizer, isn't it?
Right.
So how do we access that? So when you click App Launcher, you will see all apps, and if you collapse or the section, see all items as well. So here you see more than 20 objects, including the one that are displayed on the tab bar: accounts, right? Opportunities, tasks, contacts, campaigns, cases. All these are some of them already in the tab organizer as well. But in addition to that, there are something called quick test, social posts, reports, more available here. So you can check all items and then see all the other objects as well. So by default, if something is displayed on the tab bar or this tab organizer, we say default tab on. Okay. So when I say default tab off, it may not be visible in the tab bar here or tab organizer here, but you can always go to the app launcher and click the all items to check out that. That's what it means, default off. Okay. What
Gotcha.
is tab hidden? When the tab is hidden, when the setting says tab is hidden, I cannot search anywhere. This tab may not be, it's completely hidden. I don't have the permission to access this. That's what it means.
Okay.
And not only in the search, even inside the reports and other places also, I may not be able to verify.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's the difference between default on, off, and tab hidden. So, when I show you a couple of, on the on screen, you might have to, when you log in on your own as well, pay attention to what do you see inside this or in this screenshot. What are the things that you can notice, and are you able to connect with each of these headers, and what is the functionality
Okay.
of it, how to use it, what are the limitations you might have to you have, right? All these questions should come up in your mind.
Okay.
Okay. So when you talk about profiles, profiles gives you a set of access and permissions, settings and permissions, right? And it can be relevant to related to apps, objects, or some other permissions as well.
Okay.
Okay, so there are so many permissions you can set up or control at a profile level. Okay, that's why profile is extremely important in terms of security aspect as well. For example, a person who has a sales profile, for example, and it means that he's from a sales department. Can he access records from HR department? No, right?
Okay.
So, but how do you ensure that a standard user or a sales user does not have access to an HR related app or HR related objects and records? How do you ensure as an administrator? So it is inside the profile you will, either you can enable access or delete access. Okay. For example,
Okay.
assigned apps is there. You select assigned apps. Let us say you don't want to give access to one of the applications for a standard user. Click edit and then select which application you don't want to provide.
Okay. I see.
Let's say recruiting you don't want to provide access. I'm just giving a
Okay.
simple example. So you can uncheck this.
Okay.
Okay. And let us say even bold solution is not interested. It's not relevant to that users. You can simply uncheck. And let us say if by default, being a sales user, I think sales is the application which the moment he logs in, you should directly redirect him to the sales application. So that's why you have selected
Okay.
default as standard sales application
Oh,
as the default application.
okay.
Okay. So this way you can customize which apps the user has access to, which is the default access, whether it should be accessible, not accessible, what permissions he has to give, all you define at the profile level. Okay. Now, how many profiles are available in Salesforce? There are many profiles provided by Salesforce. For example, if I click this help page, you can see the list of standard profiles or profile related information in this official documentation page. I'll quickly run through to you. Yeah, working with assigned apps in enhanced profile, user interface, profiles. So what is a profile? Profile defines how users access objects and data and what they can do within the application. When you create users, you assign a profile to each one, which means a single user has only a single profile. You cannot have multiple
Gotcha.
profiles. Okay. And your org includes several standard profiles, where you can edit a limited number of settings, which means standard profiles settings are already pre-built or out of the box settings are created by Salesforce. We cannot make too many changes inside that. Okay. And for that reason, what do? We can create custom profiles.
Okay.
So when I say custom profile or you can edit a custom profile. What does it mean? It means, let's look at the profile. So can I edit this? If you notice, if this is a standard profile I'm selecting, can I edit the
Mm-hmm.
settings and permissions? It doesn't allow me, isn't
Oh,
it?
okay.
For example, Apex classes, can I edit what apps they can have access to? Some extent I can access, but not always, right? It has a very limited way in terms of customization because
Got
it
it.
will be a standard profile. So what is the best practice in the industry is usually when we buy licenses, we get a lot of profiles by default, the standard profile. But what we do is we clone them. Okay, we clone them and then modify it to make it a custom profile. For example, the standard user profile is
Can
is
I
a,
can I really quickly say something?
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna the headphones are not working out for me today. I'm using different ones. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna put you on speaker, and then if I have a question, I will
sure,
unmute myself and shoot. Okay?
sure, sure, sure.
Just know that I'm here. I won't
Yeah,
be. Yeah, you
yeah.
won't be able to know me. But
Okay,
okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. Go
no
ahead.
problem.
All right.
So the standard user profile, we cannot make a lot of settings, changes in the settings. That's the reason what as a best practice we do is we clone the standard profile and then save and give a different name, and then we can make customization whatever we want. For example, the standard user is been modified to renamed as sales user. If you want a different one, you can use that as well. For example, select standard user and then let's say I want to clone this. We see clone property, clone function tab here. So you simply click clone and you can give a different name. Let's say new pilot sales user, something different. It says, oh yes, okay. Right. So you have a different custom profile that we have created. Now, if you notice, there is a custom profile checkbox is clicked, enabled, which means this now we can make a lot of customization whatever we want to. By default, even though there are certain settings and permissions provided by Salesforce, those can be customized the way we want. Okay, let's look at the assigned users. Do you see any assigned users? No, because just now we created, isn't it? So if you want to add a new user and then assign this new pilot sales user profile, you can simply create a new user, create the user information, and then under the profile, what is the profile we just now created, right? New pilot sales user. You can label that profile for this new custom profile. So this way, let's say some permissions you want to modify, you can do all those things and you can customize the way you want. Nice. So this is how standard profiles and custom profile works in Salesforce. And it's all the way important for us because let us say tomorrow this profile is no more relevant to you, right? Can you delete a standard profile? Do you see a delete option here? No, we cannot delete a standard profile. So for that reason, it's always advisable that we clone a standard profile and make customization the way we want. If you notice, you can edit all permissions and settings except the user license in the custom profile. Okay, and what are the things we can do? There are so many things you can do in a profile. Okay, you can assign apps, you can make object settings, right? You can create record types and page layouts as well. So what is record type page layout? We will look at little later when we talk about the object settings. But there are, those things can also be controlled at the profile level. Page layout is very simple to understand. Right now, if you see on the home page, by default, I have a home page where I have some agent by status. This is a home page, right? And there's a proper layout I have right now. If I want to make some changes to this layout, I can have a different layout as well. But even if I have a different page layout, I have to assign to a user only through a profile, isn't it? Yesterday, the other day when we looked at, we created this customer support profile and then we assigned to a support profile. and whichever the users were belonging to that profile, they got this new homepage layout, right? That's what they say. You can control record types and page layouts as well, and app permissions, system permissions, so many things we can work around at the profile level. And what is a standard profile? Every org includes standard profile that you can assign to users. In standard profile, you can edit some settings only, right? Usually we clone instead of creating a new profile, save time by cloning existing profile and customize them. Okay, object permissions, tab settings, which whether tab is hidden, visible, not visible, or all these things you can control at the profile level, and which apps to be assigned. All these things also you can create. Not only this, even permission sets, all those are defined at the profile level. Password policies, right? And there are multiple things you can control at the profile level. Okay, so coming back to, so now you know about the profile, how you can create a profile. If you want, just clone a standard profile and then assign and make customization and assign to the users the way you want. Okay, now even if you start creating a new profile, it will always ask you, hey, do you want to clone one of the standard profile? So you can select, hey, yes, I want to select one of the existing profiles and then work on it. So you can existing profile, even if it is a custom profile, you can select one of the custom profile and then start cloning it and then create a new one. Both you can do. Okay, so that's about the profiles. And the last class, I just wanted to check with you regarding the user interface. Did we discuss about this user interface aspect, like collapsible section, quick create, hover details and stuff? Do you recollect?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we primarily looked at chatter, I believe. We searched about chatter and then
And making a new homepage for the
yeah,
service.
correct. We created a new homepage for the service and then what all did we look
But I
at?
remember something about a hover in the first class. I could be wrong, but feel like I heard something in the first class, very first one.
Okay. So enhanced inline editing, did we discuss? No, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, fine. Let's quickly look at the user interface aspect as well, because we have seen the homepage customization through Lightning App Builder, where you can create a user interface for all your users the way you want. But there are other settings that can impact under this last user interface link under the user interface section. What is that? So these features might be more relevant to classic feature, some of them relevant to Lightning only, and some of them could be common for both as well. Okay, so let's quickly understand some of the major broad features which are you can appreciate here. So let me quickly shift to classic for a moment. So I'm clicking my profile information, my image, and then below that I have something called as an option called switch to Salesforce Classic. When I click this, I can switch to Salesforce Classic. Got it. Now under this, if you notice, okay, how are the records? Let's look at an opportunity, account record, and I have this ABC Labs by default. This is the account detail information, this is the address information, there is a system information, there are contacts, open activities, opportunities, cases, so many are there. Yes, and if I look at these are additional address information and about the specific account with ABC Labs, correct? Now, if I don't want to know additional information at a quick glance, I can also click this downside triangle or arrow and then I can collapse it. If I want to expand, I can expand as well. Okay. These are collapsible sections which you can customize if you enable this will be possible for enable collapsible section. That's what enable collapsible section means. Next, let's look at quick create. What is quick create? So right now, let me look into a contact object, another contact object. Please notice on the left side, there is a small panel where I say quick create. Yes, the same thing. If I look at even in an account object, still there also I can create a quick create option. Yeah, even if I select a different object called leads, even there I can see a quick create option. So anything and new lead I want, if you want to quick create, I can create, rather than clicking this new and then selecting the record types and then going into, I can right from the home page itself, I can create a new lead record if I want to. Okay, so that is possible, provided show quick create is enabled for us. What is enable hover details? Okay, right now I know I'm moving my cursor here and there, and then let's say these are some of the recent items on the home page. Typically on a classic, if you notice, even though this is a lead home page, on the left side there's a small panel, there is a center and a larger panel, and these are some of the recent items, some top 10 records which I have accessed in the recent times is displayed. And if I click try to move my cursor over any of these records, you can see that a quick pop-up is opening up for us. A little more information. It could be a lead, it could be a contact, it could be an account, whatever. So this is nothing but hover details. When I hover over any specific record, I can get some information about that detail. So related, that's about the enabling hover details. What is enabling related list hover links? In a classic, when you look at a specific record, I'm clicking this Kevin record. Kevin Bailey, what is this? Is it a contact? What is this? Okay, one moment. It's leading me to a chatter under people. Let's look at an account record to make it simplified. So this is an account record, ABC Labs, and under this, these are the account information. That is the owner, this is an account name, phone number, website rating, all these are available. And if I slightly scroll little down or below, you can notice which are the contacts I have in ABC Labs. And I can see open activities or any opportunities, press the new existing opportunities I'm working with this, and what is the stage of this opportunity, all I can notice. And also if there are any cases as well. But all this information I can see only when I scroll below or scroll to the bottom of the page, isn't it? But rather than that, when I'm looking at the primary screen at the top of the page, without scrolling below, if I have to look at all those information, can I? In Classic, we can do that, and that's how these links are, we call. If you notice, if I move my cursor over opportunities, I can see the same information which I saw just now by at the bottom of the page, how many opportunities and what are the quick snapshot information. Similarly for cases, similarly for contacts. So this is nothing but related list. In a Classic, this is the detailed information. These are related list of information. We can see contacts, open activities, account history, opportunities, cases. These are all a related list, we call it as. And these related list we can see from the links. These are related list links, and when we hover over it, we can see more information about that. And only if you enable related list hover links, it will be enabled for you. Okay, and there is something called as enable separate loading of related list. If you want to click any one of them, let us say I want to look at more information about the opportunities, you can load it or open it in a different window or a separate way. That also is possible. That's a separate loading of a related list, we call it as. If you want a new opportunity, again, that we are navigating away from the page, isn't it? So this is one of the limitations of Classic. When you move from one to the other, you have to navigate completely, which to a great extent in Lightning it's much more better. All the important features are in the single page itself. a related list, details, even chatter feed information, all in one page you can do. If you want, you can quickly switch to Lightning Experience and appreciate what I'm talking about. Let's look at the account. The same ABC Labs I'll take as a reference example. In the Lightning, if you notice, the moment I click the specific account record, by default it will take me to the related list, but when you click the details information, it will tell you the owner, account name, the contact details, and collapsible sections like additional information, address information. If you notice, actually I had collapsed this links inside the classic, but still even in Lightning it is not expanded, it is collapsible, isn't it? Yeah. And when I click, I don't have to move away. I can simply click the other tab, related list. There is a sub tab we call sometimes, and under the sub tab you can see the related contacts. Who are the contacts here, opportunities, cases, all are mentioned. And at the same time, if you want to quickly make some edits, you can edit them, right? If you want to create a new contact, right here you have a quick action button. If you want to add a new contact, you can click here. New opportunity related to this account ABC Labs, you can click right on the same home page. You don't have to navigate away. Just click it. You still are in the same page at the background. If you notice it's not disturbed, you can create a new opportunity relevant to ABC Labs. Isn't it? I can quickly save it. This way you are still on the same page. You are not navigating away from the page or the record which you are looking at. So these are some of the differentiating features between Lightning and this as well. And let's go back to some of the other user interfaces. Enable inline editing and enhanced list. What is inline editing and enhanced list? By default right now I have enabled in my org. What happens? Let's see if I uncheck this. Save it. Let me go back to my profile image, switch to Salesforce Classic. Let me look at some of the account records. I'm clicking the account homepage object. All accounts, let me select so that I have more records to display. And when I click go, and then there is a list of account records I can see here, right? So there are more than what, 61, 68 accounts are there, and by default I have 25 records displayed here. If you want to change the display, I can change the display of records as well. Yes. And if I want to move to the next page, I can select them, or directly page numbers also I can navigate and move around. And here, let us say this specific Kansan account in Tokyo, I want to make he's no more a customer, he's a partner for us. Recently he has moved because he's become a partner for us in that region. So I want to change the customer type information and then make him as a partner rather than customer. How do I make it, or how can I make it? I may have to click edit, and then it will take me to the account record of this Kansan, and then I can make changes to the type. What you see, he's a customer or a partner. But can I change it or make the changes without moving away from this page? Because it's just one field I need to change, isn't it? Can I just right away, right here, only this field I can change and then still work on the same records, list view, same this list view? That is possible provided I enable inline editing. What is inline editing? Let's appreciate that right away. Now I'm going to enable, check this enable inline editing, and then save it. Now it's the same page. If I go back, try to refresh, the same list of records I have in front of me, and the Kansan Tokyo is a partner. Not, I want to change it. He's not a partner. He is a customer for me. So I save it. How did I make it? There's a small pencil icon, you can notice it, isn't it? So even in a list view, if you want to make some edit changes, you can do, this, when you see this pencil marking, it indicates that it is an inline editing that you can do. Okay, and even at a record level you can do that. For example, AMP industries I'm looking at, for example, is not a manufacturing industry, from a different industry. I can simply double click it and then make changes. Yeah, this way I can simply do the inline editing option. Not every field you might have inline editing, but majority of the fields have this inline editing option. Yeah, and this is known with a simple pencil icon or a pencil logo at the right of this field. This is inline editing. At the same time, there is another feature that we can see under the user interface again is enhanced list. Enhanced list is uh, I can navigate the list view. Let us say here I came for a specific record. So this is a list of record. This is one of the list view, all accounts list view. In this list view, when I combine with inline editing, I can do lot many changes. I can, sort the data, right? I can multiple actions also I can take. For example, these all the Buono areas, and then another maybe not this JK Telecom, let's say AMP Industries and Interroad. All these three records I want to make some changes, or either I want to edit or they want to make some changes. So I can select these three, and then let us say I want to change the status of the customers. So if it will ask me, hey, only the record clicked you want to make or all the three records? If you notice, all the three records I can select and then say I want to change the customer type. Yeah. So this way, enhanced list allows you to make multiple changes in a list view itself rather than doing it in individual records. And inline editing is more complementary. Yeah. So that's about inline editing and enhanced list. In a similar way, this is a Salesforce Classic 2010 user interface theme. This is more relevant to Chatter only if it is enabled. Chatter can be accessible in both in Classic and Lightning. By default, if you notice, most of your settings, even in your developer edition org, that will be enabled. Okay, and enable tab bar organizer only when this is enabled. Let us say this tab. What is this plus icon means? All tabs. Right, in Lightning I told you in all items, when you click app launcher you can access all the other apps which are there in your org. In Classic you have to click all tabs so that you can access all the available list of tabs in your org. Okay, if you want to customize, you can customize your tab bar by clicking customize my tabs and make changes. You can add an object, you can remove an object, you can reorder them by selecting up and down. Yeah, let's say forecast I want to remove, and I want to add let's say some contact informations, something else. Yeah, so this is the sales app that we have selected. If you want different changes into different apps, you can select them as well. But all these changes are possible provided tab bar organizer is enabled. Otherwise, a user may not be able to make changes. Only whatever the settings an administrator has made, those settings will remain fixed. Okay, you can add it, you can make it move up and down. Yeah, and save it. This way you can see campaigns have been now added, contracts have been added, and one of the forecasts which was there here I have removed it, so there is no more listed in the tab bar. But if you want, I can click all tabs and inside the view all tabs view I can see all the tabs. If there was a specific app I want to know, I can select the service app and see what are the list of objects accessible inside that. Okay, now these are some of the additional features on user interfaces that you might want to know on a high level. And sidebar collapsible action. Okay, if you notice right now I'm looking at these records, let us say opportunity records I'm looking at. I want to look at all the opportunities and opportunity pipeline of all opportunities. Okay, but still this side panel is hindering my view. I don't want this side panel to me coming in between. What can I do? I can simply click this sidebar, click to close the sidebar. It's gone. Now screen is much better. So this way you have a collapsible sidebar as well in Classic specifically. So that would be possible only if you enable collapsible sidebar section. If you don't enable, then it may not be possible for you to collapse it. Show custom sidebar components on all pages. So what are the sidebar components do you by default you see in the home page? Create new option, yes, recent items and recycle bin. Yeah, these are some of the additional things you see on the left side panel. Is it visible only in the home page or all pages? Let's select let us say campaign object. Yeah, even in campaign we see create new, recent items and recycle bin. Yes, so this way this is possible because we select show custom sidebar components, then save it. Now let me refresh this page where I was. If you notice, course surveys, knowledge check manager were not visible to us earlier. Now I can see those there, those aspects as well. Even I'm not in home page, but I'm in campaign object, which was not visible. Right now it is visible because we enabled collapsible the sidebar components to be visible in all pages. So these are some of the sidebar related. Similarly, you have calendar related stuff and something on setup. By default, they have been enabled for us. Whichever are key important, they are already enabled or checked by Salesforce itself. Okay, so let me uncheck the on for all pages and then simply save it. So this is something more on user interface. Since we started user interface last session, I thought I'll complete some of the other key aspects as well. Now that we know about some of the user interfaces and we also have looked at the profile information, let's look at something on user management. So setup. Okay, let me go to switch to Lightning experience because Lightning is more important going forward because predominantly even the market it is a Lightning experience people ask for rather than the Classic, but still. So if I click setup, so right now I'm in the setup page. I'm in the as per the Lightning experience. You have administrator section, platform tools, you have some settings, and then subscription management. If you want to buy some new lessons, there is something called as checkout as well, where you can manage your subscription process. If you want to buy some licenses, something, or those are subscription related. I don't have permission maybe, or something is wrong here. It says okay, not a problem. Now let's go back to the users. So under the users, there are so many things: permission sets, profile, queues, roles, user management settings, and users. Profile is something to some extent we already have seen what a profile is. Correct. Now let's try to look at some or a little more about a permission set as well before we talk about users. So what is a permission set? Already we have seen a profile. Profile, we know there are different permissions we can set up for a user. Correct. Let's see. You have a marketing user profile, right? This is a standard profile. Let us say an example. One of the standard user who is in the sales department, we have in the form of sales user as a custom profile. He is going to support the marketing manager for one of the new product launch campaign. So for this reason, this sales user, one of the sales users should have access to some of the marketing related objects or records as well. What would you do? How do you enable a sales profile user to access marketing profile user apps or objects? Any answers? You can attempt and then.
I'm sorry, what was that?
See, this is a sales user.
Right.
He's going to support the marketing manager for a new campaign.
Mm-hmm.
We know a user can have only one profile at a time, isn't it?
Right.
You cannot assign both sales profile and marketing profile. It's not possible. A
Mm-hmm.
user is always only 1:1. One user, one profile, only one license.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wants to have access to this app as well, how can you enable that? I mean,
I could be
even
wrong,
with,
but it's. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
listening. But is this where you clone and then customize?
Okay, that is one way. You can clone the
Oh,
standard user profile and make some customization and create a new profile. Correct?
okay.
But let us say this new profile is required only for this new product campaign, only for the next 2 months. After that, it is no more relevant.
Hmm.
And
No.
again, there could be again a new product happening after 3 months. Will you again create multiple profiles every 2 months, 3 months? And this is
Maybe
just
not.
one
So.
department. Think about you have 5 departments, 10 departments in your company, and every
Mm-hmm.
department will come. Every manager will come up with some new request saying, "Hey, I need some additional permission for this user." Not one, maybe sometimes two, three users. And what if they want to have access to different functionalities, not just in marketing, something in finance, something in HR as well. If there is a new co-op who is joining and he has to work in all the different departments for every 3 months on a rolling quarter basis, then will you create a new profile for every quarter, every month? Not possible. It may not be the best solution. So that's where the permission set license or permission sets comes into picture. Okay. So what is a permission set? Permission set is nothing but, as the name implies, or it's kind of giving directions to us. It is a set of permission. A profile gives a very comprehensive set of permissions, but permission set is very specific. It gives only selective permission to you. Okay, in the example which we were discussing, a sales user wants to have access to marketing related apps, so you can create a permission set where he can have access to a campaign object or create ad members, campaign members. So selective permissions you can give and then assign that permission set to the user. Okay, so that permission set will have only that specific permission, and you can give selectively to a specific user. You don't have, it will not impact all the users. Very selectively you can select one or multiple of users and then assign them. This way the base profile what he has does not impact, and there is no limitation in terms of permission sets. You can have as many permission sets as you want to. Let's check the official documentation page to better understand what the permission set means by Salesforce. This page was not found. Why? Permission sets. Yes. So by this time, I think you should be familiar with the help, looking for help documents inside the Salesforce. Yes.
Yeah.
This, yeah, this is the official help document page, Salesforce help.salesforce.com. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
the URL and then type whatever you think you want to look for some for additional information. And the moment you
Mm-hmm.
type the search, you see there are so many 4,000 results are being given. But by
Mm-hmm.
default, some of the most relevant searches option results are provided at the top. And I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest select the documentation first, because those are the most latest and relevant, which will directly impact you. So you can
Okay.
select what is the permission set.
Mm-hmm.
Here you can see we talk about permission set in detail. So this this example itself will give you this picture. He has a sales user profile. He can only read, create, and edit leads, but he wants some additional lead permissions to either sales or customer leads. For that, you can use permission set.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
My permission set is a collection of settings and permissions that gives user access to various tools and functions. And settings and permissions are also found in profile, but permission sets extends users' functionality without changing the sales profile. Yeah? And you can have
Sure.
multiple permission sets added to a specific.
Mm-hmm.
So these
I can't hear you. I have a really hard
Information
time
about how
hearing
to maybe you can mute yourself for a moment. I think there's a lot of background noise.
you. Okay.
Yep. So you can create a permission set. How to create? It's very simple. You can maybe you can clone a permission set or create a new one. And a clone permission set start with the same license and enable. Let's try to create a permission set directly in the org so that you can appreciate. Right now you don't have any permission sets in this org. Let's create a new permission set. This permission set is something I want to give for very selective users. What is that permission set? I want few of my users to log in only in Lightning so that they learn how to use Lightning more effectively than Classic. So I would say uh, pilot Lightning users. Okay, so okay, so when you create a new permission set, there are different ways how you based on who is going to use this permission set. You can choose either none, or you can use a specific license if you want to. Okay, or if you can select a user license or a permission set license. User license is by default already they would have one, isn't it? Only if you have a license you will be inside the Salesforce or you can access. So by default you can select one of the common standard Salesforce user license, or you can select one of the permission sets license. By default Salesforce also creates some permission set license and sells them. We can buy that license and then provide, that has got some set base settings and permissions what it comes with, that you can assign to a specific user. For example, CRM user is a permission set license which will enable a user to manage campaigns, add campaign members, and by default all the settings already has been created by Salesforce and it is giving us. Okay, in my case it's not related to CRM, it's a Lightning permission I'm going to give. When they log in, the user should have only Lightning experience, not in class. They should not be able to switch to Classic. So this is a permission set I'm going to give. So what is the reason for me to select none? If I plan to assign this to multiple users with different user and permission set license, that means, let us say they are a bit different departments. When I say profile, they're from different departments. It could be different users. Let us say one is from sales, one is from marketing, one is from HR, right? And one is from support. So in that case, I would select none. What will happen if you select a specific license? So only a user which has a Salesforce license can access this permission set. It is limiting only to this license, right? Or if I select Salesforce console user, only a console user can use this permission set. Others cannot access. But I don't want to tie it to a specific license. In case if I need, I can tie. But in this case, for Lightning experience permission set, I don't want. So I select none and then save it. Now, this will ask me, okay, you labeled the name for the permission set, but what is the permission you want to set? By default, if you notice inside this, there will not be any permission that will be given, isn't it? There are no apps at all. Yes. And even under the object settings, no access. Till now, we saw so many apps, right? For our account, read, write, delete, so many options. But right now there is no access at all because we have to define what is this permission that we are going to enable in this permission set. In my case, I am going to select the system permission, and under the system permission, I want to select something called as Lightning. So Lightning experience user, yes. Let me select the Lightning experience user permission, and I say, hey, when I click edit and then enable, check this access Lightning experience and switch between Lightning experience, or you can select only only selective Lightning experience only. Either ways you can manage. So I click edit and then I can selectively. So I can, this is also a quick find box, a quick find search box I have even under the profiles or wherever I'm looking, even under the setup. So I can select Lightning Experience user, and for that permissions I can enable that, yes, or I have to click edit again, sorry. Sorry, it's okay, it's not allowing me to go this way. Okay, not a problem. So let me click edit, then let me directly go back to the Lightning Experience. There are so many things. For example, to recreate reports, to schedule reports, any permissions, not relevant to only to Lightning. There are so many umpteen number of permissions. If you notice, none of the permissions are selected. Yes. So only based on what you create, what you set up, those permissions, this will be enabled inside this. Okay. So now let me try to add Lightning Experience user. I've checked this, so which means I'm giving this permission. I can also give, if I want, Lightning login user permission as well. So both I'm giving this and then simply saving it. So this way, this permission set I've created, and let me go back to the permission set or initial setup page. Earlier we did not have anything, but right now I have a pilot Lightning users, pilot user to use Lightning with Lightning Champs. So who are the users I have assigned this permission set? Have I assigned anyone? No, not yet. So I can select or click manage assignments and then select the users whom I have to add this permission set. So I can select add assignments and I can click or select the person whom I want to assign this. Let us say VP of Finance and let us say US Sales Director Cooper Kathy, as well as EMEA Sales Rep, marketer Franco Lisa. These users I want to assign this permission set. So this way, pilot learning user was not assigned to only see the message permission user has been assigned to 3. Can't assign to because this is user is inactive. Did you notice? See, if the user is inactive, you cannot assign any specific permissions. Yep. So I say click OK, done. Success. So now we have assigned the specific permission set pilot lightning users to all these 3 users. Let me try to log in as a Kathy Cooper and then see if it is working. Yes. Hey, I see the switch to Lightning Experience option available. Nice. And what if other users are there? Is it true that all other users cannot switch to Lightning Experience? Is it true? Let's check that right away. So only Bessie Brent, Kathy Cooper, and Cruz Digo can access Lightning because I have given them permissions. Let's check out other users if they have access to. Okay, 1 minute. I may have to initially log out as Kathy Cooper, isn't it? So let me log out as Kathy Cooper. And now let me go back to the user section. Refresh this. So let me log in as, let us say, Chang Chin. I don't think we have assigned this user, right? Login as Chang Chin. Jing Chang. Jing Chang doesn't have switch to Lightning Experience option. Did you notice? Even if I click the option and look at the settings, you might still not have access to Lightning at all. It's still, or by default, you might notice personal information. Okay, this is my own record. If you notice, this is my record it is talking, not the Jing Chang's record. So by default, this person or he doesn't have access to Lightning, correct? So this is how you can selectively assign a permission set to a specific set of users. Let me log out as Jing Chang. Window, close this. Okay. Now we know profile, we know permission set, what it is, why it is important, how it is useful. Also, we have looked at. For more details, I suggest check on the help for this page and then go through the document little more detail as well. Okay. And similarly, even with respect to profiles as well, click on the profiles inside your developer edition org and try to see which are the standard profiles you have. Create a one or two multiple one or two custom profiles and assign these profiles to new users. Now there comes the question on creating users. How to create new user, we'll look at it right away, but you can also check the help for this page and then see more details about profiles. What are the information you can look around for more details on profiles as well. Now that we can create a new profile and we created a new pilot, the sales user custom profile we have created, but let's say I want to assign this profile to a new user. How do you create a new users? Under the users, if you can notice, it's just where users are there. All the users are listed here, and if you want active users, you can select only active users. This way only active users will be listed here for you. But how do I know which is an active, which is not an active users? By default, when you select all users, there is an active column over here, header. Under the active header, if you notice, hey, Sanjay Chopra, if you notice, this is not active at all. This user is not active, not checked. Yes, there's also one more, Franco Lisa. Lisa Franco is also not an active user. This way you can identify who is an active and a inactive user. Okay, now why it is important, we'll look at it in a while, but let's try to see what are the user information that you might look around when I create a new user. Let's say one of your market manager comes and tells you, hey, Smita, you know what? We have HR manager comes and tells you, Smita, we have 3 new people joining in our organization the next couple of weeks time. So create 3 new users. These are the user information I have mailed you already. You can look at them, and then create a new user in Salesforce org. Now, when you start creating a new user, what are the information you have to look around? The fields which are highlighted with a a red line at the side, it notes these are required information. So you must have a Salesforce user license for sure, and you should also have a profile. Which profile are you going to associate this user with? So that is also another important information you should know. Yep. So you can fill out the first name, last name, alias name, email, username, and nickname. So what is an alias name? When you look at a specific Salesforce records, right? Let's say the lead information, list of lead records, all leads. If you notice, there is a header called as owner alias. So this is a short abbreviated name of the record owner, mentioned in not only list views, in reports, in other many places, in searched items. There also you might find alias name as well. Yeah, M Sato. Maybe not in leads. Maybe you have to see in people. Maybe Sato. Yeah. Okay. So so you have alias name, you have email, username. As we know already, it has to be in an email format. But email information, how do you get the company official email? The IT team should give you, isn't it? So you can have a nickname. So nickname is usually used for the communities, like either online communities if you have for your company. There you can use it, and other license and these are must. License profile information are must. Role you can also define at a later time, even if you're not defined at the beginning or when you're creating a new user. Okay, and right now, since I'm as an administrator, you can see there is a small arrow to the right side. Do you see here? If I click this, I can view fields, we can view objects, I can edit that app, edit the layout, so many things I can do. This is the quick access menu. Usually, administrators will have. So you can enable this if you are going to assign this new user as a one of the adjunct administrator, right? So if not, you don't have to. So that's what the quick access menu option. By default, some of them are enabled. You can customize it the way you want. And this is a mailing address and maybe local setting. We know in addition to company setting, these also can be created when you create it or modified for a user perspective, isn't it? Yep. We can change that, and the manager information. Let's say whom is the user going to report to. Those information also we can capture here. Okay. Now, the moment you create a new user, will you send a password immediately or will you send it later? Your manager came, told you, I need new users created in the Salesforce org. So you looked at the license, you had number of license available. And so before creating a user license, you should also check the availability as well, isn't it? If the company org does not have sufficient license, can you create so many user records? Not possible. So immediately we'll check the company settings, which we saw earlier, and see if you have sufficient licenses, isn't it? The quick find box, click company settings, and you under the company information, what can you see? You can see the number of user licenses that are available, which are already used. Yes, if you notice, already 51 licenses have been used and only 4 are remaining under the Salesforce. If more than 4 people are joining the company, then you might have to alert the management saying, hey, we have only 4, there are 5 people joining in the company in the next 1 or 2 months, better we buy the license accordingly, right? Then when you create a new user, so these are the information you have to create. So as a general practice, you don't have to right away send the password link, rather you can send little later. Once the permission settings all are set up, then maybe after a couple of days, and even if you set up all these things, still he has to receive the official company's laptop or stuff, right? Only then he may be able to access the email or org. Otherwise, how can we even reset the password the first time when you have access to Salesforce? So for that reason, as a standard practice, you can set this a little later rather than when you create a new user itself. This is about one user, but in your organization, there are 4 people who are joining. Can you create multiple users at one go rather than creating one by one? Yes, you can create multiple users as well. So select add multiple users, and then you can create multiple users. But that will depend upon the number of license which you already have. For example, Salesforce, we know we have only 4 licenses. So at the max, how many multiple users we can add? Only 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. But if I look at Chatter free license, how many I have? I have 5,000 license. But can I create 5,000 license at one go? No. At the max, we can create 10, and then you can add more users subsequently as well. Yeah. For more information, you can just check on this help page. It'll ask for a user ID password. Sometimes you might say okay. Sometimes the help documentation these days are asking for a user ID and password as well. That's okay. User adding multiples. Add multiple users. You can quickly add up to 10 users at a time to your organization. But your addition determines the maximum number of users that you can add. That is number of licenses that we have. Okay. Now under the users, we know how to add users, add multiple users. Let's look at certain other information on user management. Let's look at a scenario where this Jing Chang, whatever. But this guy suddenly sends a resignation email to his immediate manager on a Saturday night and says, hey, with immediate effect, I'm planning to sign off and then I'm moving out. And then the manager messages you or emails you hey, Smita, I think this guy is, leaving the organization, and it's important that, we protect our company data. So immediately, I want to restrict his access to Salesforce because a lot of reports, confidential informations are available, right? So how do you immediately inactivate a user? Maybe you can select the user, and then what can you do? Edit this, and then you can uncheck this, right? This is one way. But when you try to deactivate a user, Salesforce is giving you an alert. Hey, ensure, you know he's not part of any teams, or he's not managing any active groups. Okay, and if he's ownership, he's the owner, approver, or something like that, then he cannot be removed. You cannot deactivate a user. Okay, if he's an approver, then you have to assign or replace with some other approver for one of the processes or something, and then only you can inactivate or deactivate. In this case, Jin Chang was not an approver, so we did not have a need to have a replacement approver or for any of the processes or approval groups. But what if it is he is part of such approver, and he does, and Salesforce does not allow you to deactivate the user. It says, hey, he's an approver, so you cannot deactivate him. What will you do now? Because company requirement says, as an administrator, you should immediately stop or restrict the access to this user. How do you enable or meet this requirement? This is where an interesting feature from Salesforce helps us. It's called as freeze a user. Okay, so let me select this Jinchang user, and if you notice, there is something called as freeze button. Yes, so when you freeze a button, immediately it restricts the user from accessing Salesforce. So even if he uses the correct user ID, correct password, correct IP address, nothing, he cannot get inside the org. Okay, that's what freezing the user means. So meanwhile, if he's part of an approver, if he's part of any groups, manager groups, approve processes, you can always check with the manager, on Monday, Tuesdays, and the coming weekends. Take some time, complete, replace that, find the replacement, and then you can deactivate the user. Okay, so this is how. And if you want to log in as another user, can you log in as another user? Yes, as an administrator, yes, you can log in as another user. If you can, I have already shown you how I would log in as another user by simply clicking by the login button against each user. The moment I am logged in as another user, I may have to log out first. Only then even I can access my own profile. Otherwise, it will not say you don't have sufficient privileges. If I click setup, only some things I can have access, not every aspect. If you notice, I don't have access to all the sections. Even if I want to make some changes, let us say for manage users, it will say, hey, you don't have permissions, man. Right? If you notice, I cannot log in as another user. It says only edit. So login will be possible only for authorized administrators. So let me log out as Chingchang. Now I'll be redirected to an admin, my own user profile. Okay. Now here users, we have seen how to freeze, how to log in as another user, and let's look a little more about user management. Adding user, single user, multiple user. It's also something we call it a C something here, reset password. When do you want to reset the password for a user?
Not sure.
Or have you come across any situation where in your Gmail or a
Oh
Yahoo,
yeah. Okay. Like when
right?
they added like more than so many turns.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes when you enter wrong password after certain multiple times, even your banking account or any other transactions, it might get locked, and it may say, hey, your account has been locked, you have to reset your password, please contact the administrator. Sometimes if you're working in the company, that's all the message you will get. Otherwise, there could be a self-directed reset password option where you can click that and then right? So as an administrator, you can also control the password policies. Okay, and let us say if a specific user has already logged in with a long password, or is not able to access the Salesforce. He says, hey, as an administrator, he's calling you and sending an email saying, I'm not able to access my, or you know, provide immediate access. What do you do as an administrator? So first thing, you'll check whether is it a password issue. Is he right? Isn't it? So how do you know whether he has entered correct password or he has entered multiple times and it is invalid? How do we know that? That's why there is something called as login history under the identity management. If you check login history, you can notice that all the information relevant to a user's login information is noted down under for up to 6 months. You can show up to 20,000 records for the last 6 months. So whichever the users you have in your 100, 200, no problem. So last 6 months up to 20,000 records, it will show all this information. What are information? Username, what time, date he logged in or she logged in, what is the IP address, from which location has the user logged in, is it US, Canada, what is the operating system that the user has used, is it a Firefox, Chrome? Every aspect of your information is noted. Yes. So this way, if you want to download this, you can do the download option as well, as a CSV file or a zip file, and then you can use this information to check what happened. And if I was successful, it is totally showing as successful. And if I entered wrong password, what will happen? It says failed. Yes. Then you know what could be the reason. You can also check the IP addresses. Is he accessing from the valid IP? Is it authorized? Is it a trusted IP from the company, or is it some other non-trusted IP range is he logging into? So if the user attempts 3 times with the wrong password, what will happen? Under the users, whichever the users you are seeing, right, who is having the issue, adjacent to his name, it will say the user is locked. If you look at the user information, not here, you select a specific user and edit, right? Here you would find as additional button where you want to unlock the user. Right now you don't see because it's not locked, but if you have any locked user, then you might find unlock button that you can simply click unlock, and then here or even adjacent to the user's name on the list view itself you can notice. Since I think it looks like I've logged in as Maria Bozani, let me log out from Maria. Okay, so we can try to refresh this page. Okay, now when I look at a specific user, then unlock button also will be shown for me. Right now, when I look at a specific user as an administrator, I can freeze, login, reset password. There will be unlock the button as well adjacent to this. If I want to unlock them, I can simply unlock it. Okay. So, or if I want to reset the password, I can reset as well if I want to. Okay. So those are some of the user management information or user related stuff that you should be knowing or being aware. And for more, you can also check password management, how go about, and stuff we can discuss a little more on the user management. Okay, Smita. So today's session I'll stop here. Yeah.
Okay.
We have looked at user management in detail. We have looked at the profile information. We have looked at permissions set, and even on user interface, we have touched a little more, and we have seen a more comprehensive user interface management as well. So this, I think, user management predominant topics we have managed, and maybe we'll touch upon More relevant to this security topic, we'll talk about in a subsequent session.
Mm-hmm.
That is tomorrow, if I'm correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And meanwhile, relevant Trailhead modules, I'll send a link to you. If you can get some time, take some, and then go through and try to complete them, so that will be useful for you.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, any questions?
Oh, not for today.
Okay. Not a problem. So I'll stop the recording here, and we'll connect again tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.